guys, welcome to another episode of Caught in the Middle. I'm Tyler.
I'm Jordan.
And I'm Andrew.
Hey, Andrew's here. And what are we talking about today?
We're talking about remakes. Are they good or are they bad?
Ooh, let's find that one out.
Alright, so before we dive into the subject, do we want to give our brief histories with our love of movies, you know?
Sure, yeah.
Alright, Andrew, how about you?
I'll start. Okay. I don't really remember a time when I wasn't really kind of obsessed with films.
Okay.
I mean, it's really been a thing since I was a little kid. I think my parents made me watch a lot of movies as a child to kind of just, from the start, I was basically a movie fan. Kind of around high school, I got much more into like the kind of production and like just, you know, beyond just being interested in movies, kind of trying to like take a more serious route on it. And then, it's kind of just continued today. I mean, and then if you know, like A-list movie pass, I mean, we're seeing more movies than ever, so.
That's so great. Yeah, so I grew up watching movies all the time. You know, my mom, she worked a lot, and so she'd come home and like sleep, you know. She'd obviously feed me, play with me, you know. And then she'd be very tired, she'd go to bed, and so I'd be like, why are you kids? I'm like, what am I gonna watch? I have all these VHSs, so I grew up on Dumb and Dumber, Tommy Boy. Those were my movies growing up.
Oh, okay.
And then in high school, I watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Ooh. And I was like, whoa, movies can be like this? And that's what kind of drove me to go, whoa, making movies is awesome. And I, really just went full on out to explore those different types of movies.
That was Jim Carrey, right?
Jim Carrey, yeah.
Classic.
I grew up watching him as The Mask,
comedy.
and that. And I was like, what's this Jim Carrey movie? I was like, huh?
He did such a great job.
Yeah.
So good, yeah. So that what's pursued me to like make movies and challenging movies. And I got a film studies degree, and now I'm making shorts and writing features. So that's where I'm at now.
That's good stuff.
How about you, Tyler?
Well, very similar to you guys. Parents raised me on movies, but it was really my mom that introduced me to a lot of my favorites. A lot of my favorites are usually 80s movies, The Goonies, Clue. My favorite movie of all time is Back to the Future, so that's where it usually comes from. But I went to film school as well, with a concentration in directing, but with writing on the side. So they're very similar. Let's get into it then. What do we think about remakes? We're gonna let Andrew start us off with the first word. Let's see what goes.
Okay. So I guess overall, I'd say I'm pretty positive on remakes as a thing. They're pretty widely derided, I think. A lot of people don't like remakes. There's a lot of comments about the Disney remakes and stuff. But I think overall, there is a very definite benefit to remakes. You know, the ability to re-examine art and sort of take concepts that maybe didn't work in an original or show a different perspective that the original didn't show, I think has inherent value that, we do benefit from being able to remake and re-examine art.
Absolutely.
I don't think you can hold, bad remakes as a point against remakes in general. Because I mean, you could do that with essentially any genre film.
It's true. Mm-hmm.
There are terrible horror movies, but I don't think horror movies are bad. There's bad superhero movies. I wouldn't say that's a bad genre.
Yeah.
There's good and bad within every style of filmmaking, are there?
Absolutely. That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Jordan?
I am with Andrew. I think most often they're a great thing. Some of the best movies that we have today are remakes. Mm-hmm. John Carpenter's The Thing. Technically, The Wizard of Oz is a remake.
Yeah. The original?
So the one that everyone knows, there was a black and white version before that.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, and so a lot of movies you wouldn't think. The Departed. Scarface. These classic movies we don't even think of are remakes. And, unless something happens in the future and they start eliminating prior movies, we're always going to have the originals.
Yeah.
So if a remake comes out and you don't like it, that's fine. You still have the original.
That's true.
So, I am for remakes.
Interesting. Disclaimer. I usually see both sides of an argument, and for this one, I technically am in the middle, hence the name of the show, but I think both. I like remakes, but I also sometimes hate remakes. And it usually just comes down to whether or not the remake is transformative enough for it to warrant a remake. And I will use the example of the live-action Lion King, which came out recently. I love Lion King. I think it's great. And I went into the new Lion King blind, the live action one that just came out. I watched it without knowing what the reviews were, or like what people thought. And I watched it and I was like, is this any different than the original? Like, how different did it? It didn't feel like it was doing anything different that warranted it to be released in the first place. Which, like, no offense to all the people that went into making it, because I know, a movie isn't just made by one person, it's made by all of them. Mm-hmm. So I'm not trying to take away from those artists that, like, really, really believed in it or felt like they were doing something great. Because it was still a good movie. I just don't think it was transformative enough to warrant a remake in the first place. Which is fine. I think some remakes are like that. So in that case, not really great. But in the case of Scarface or other remakes that are very transformative, I think it is a great thing. So I think 50 years from now, when film transforms or a new way to experience entertainment, I feel like VR is a big thing that's going to be coming up in the next 50 years.
Yeah.
So imagine some of our favorite films remade in VR.
Yeah.
Just I feel like that's transformative enough to warrant a remake. And then it makes you feel different, like you're there in the world. Like VR, I think it'd be pretty cool. Scarface VR, I'm not sure. Maybe that's too scary. Maybe that'll feel too real. But Harry Potter VR.
Oh my gosh.
You're in the world with the wizards as you're experiencing it with them. That'd be pretty cool. I'm pretty sure we'll have a remake of Harry Potter 50 years from now. I think, right?
I think it's inevitable. It's too hot of a property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it, because you feel 50 years back, think of the biggest films. A lot of them are getting remade these days.
Absolutely.
And so it's what's today? It's 2020. So 1970? I'm trying to think of big movies from the 70s that might potentially get remade or have been remade from the 70s. It's gotta be something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they're just money makers. Well, generally, the studios have a safe bet. This is a name.
Yeah.
And sometimes, with the latest Black Christmas remake, they just use the name and tell a different story, because sometimes it's just a blatant cash grab.
Yes. So that's what I'm worried about usually, the cash grabs.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say, being a cash grab is a big thing that remakes are indicted for pretty constantly. I think it's the general association when you hear about a remake is, it's just a studio trying to make some money off a product.
Yeah.
And it does happen. It definitely happens a lot. The Disney movies are, I think, a really good example of a soulless studio production that's, to your point, it doesn't add anything to the movie.
Yeah.
All it does is take all the style and personality away from the film, and you're just left with this soulless thing.
It kind of felt all right, what was the point of that? You want to take something that was good for its time and then adapt it into and relating it to modern times of today.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes things interesting and good, in my opinion. Do you guys know the first remake of all time? It's a fun little trivia fact that I looked up today.
I don't. I feel like I should.
It was The Great Train Robbery.
They remade that?
They remade it.
About to say that, and I was like, no.
Original release, and then a year later, remade. And I'll let you know this. I'll read off this paragraph, and I'll link up this article in the description box. But the first remake was in 1904, Great Train Robbery, and this was the motivation for remaking it. Profit was the motive, plain and simple. The filmmaker did not want to risk failure with an original film when he could easily make money by creating a nearly exact replica of an already successful film. In fact, this kind of remake, common in early Hollywood, was much more blatant and shameless than the kind of remakes we sometimes see today. It wasn't until much later in the 20th century, and especially in recent years, that respected filmmakers found critical acclaim with successful remakes that shed new light on a great story. So the original first remake of all time was for profit only. It was a shot-for-shot remake, and only a couple tweaks here and there.
Okay.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That's so fascinating. That's a timeless, just the cash grab. I like the idea of a coal miner or something in the audience after he's like, there's no original stories left. We're done.
Hollywood's over.
Yeah.
Hasn't even started yet, but it's already
Cinema is dead.
That's over 100 years ago. If you're gonna make a remake, it's either you're doing it for because you're afraid that original content isn't gonna grab in the viewers, right? A lot of producers a remake. Wow, that original film did so well. So there's probably already an audience for it today. And I feel like that's what a lot of producers are doing these days. They want to make sure they have an audience for their movie.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it kind of hurts a lot of independent films and original film ideas, because a producer will look at it and be like, what if people don't like it? You know, they don't have any idea or prediction of whether it's going to be good or not, because it's a completely new film and nobody knows anything about it. Whereas like a lot of the top filmmakers, Tarantino and Christopher Nolan, they get the reins to original media because a lot of people believe in those filmmakers. They get the audience because they're a filmmaker, because they're so...
But if I can say one thing, Christopher Nolan's most well-known movie is an adaptation. I mean, say part of The Dark Knight.
Oh, Dark Knight, yeah.
Is itself an adaptation.
It's
so
true.
I don't know if the issue of original films not being made is solely the fault of remakes. Because I think today we see adaptations of, you know, like of pre-existing properties.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those I think are, if anything, more of an issue
That's true.
than remakes today. Because I mean, I think we see a lot more of those than we do
Sequels
Yeah,
and
yeah.
reboots, sequels,
yeah,
sequels.
stuff like that. Because I mean, you know, there's all sorts of reasons why they're not going to go for original movies.
Absolutely, that's true. I feel like producers they're addicted to
Money.
Yeah, money and what is it, like universes? What's it called, like
Cinematic universes. Yeah.
That's what's in right now.
Very much so.
And I miss the original content. It's harder for me to find the original content. I think Parasite. I think Parasite's great.
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
Are you hyped for the American remake that we're doing?
No, I'm not hyped for it whatsoever. See, there's that cash grab thing again, where it's like, do we need to like do that?
Yeah, and it was the thing for me. It was announced so quickly after the kind of success of Parasite that I don't know if they have some good idea. Maybe I don't want to prejudge the project. Maybe they thought of some super clever way to adapt it. But it was announced so quickly and so much. It just felt like it was off the back of Parasite being a huge.
Well, no offense to some Americans, but there are some lazy Americans. Like, they won't watch Parasite for the fact that they don't want to read the subtitles.
That's true.
Absolutely.
And they're like, they hear, oh, Parasite, but in English. They're like, oh, I might go check that out now. It's so stupid.
I had so many friends back home be like, did you see that Parasite movie? And I'm like, yeah, it's great. You should watch it. Subtitles, right? I'm like, oh, come on.
Some of the best movies aren't in English.
Right.
So
I do get frustrated with that. Sometimes I think remakes, it can be interesting to see how you can adapt the story from another setting and inject those cultural differences to evoke a different, theme that otherwise you might not have thought about with this film.
It's true.
So,
Like to your point about Infernal Affairs and The Departed earlier, very different films just by looking at the different police forces within the two countries.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like it's hit and miss for me. Like, I can't say that remakes are bad because they're not. They can be bad. I wish producers gave original content a little bit more of a chance. Because every single time we get a remake, that's one less original story idea that we're getting, in my opinion. Because they're either going to go with... They've got so many ideas. I'm sure they've got so many ideas ready to go. And it's just a matter of choosing one. And I feel like a producer's more inclined to choose an idea that already has an established audience, because it means that there's more of a chance of it making money. Because unfortunately, and fortunately, the filmmaking industry revolves around money. At the end of the day, it revolves around money. So they gotta make their money somehow. Otherwise, it's just not gonna work out.
Can't make the next
exactly.
one.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So remakes are kind of required sometimes for studios. Some studios, that's all they get their money from, and it allows them to invest other money into other projects. That's probably, they make the money off the remakes, the sequels, and the cinematic universes and all that stuff. So maybe remakes are required for original content.
To your point, a lot of directors will do the sort of two-film deal with a studio where they'll do a film for a studio that's more of a studio feature, and that gets them budget to do a smaller film. You could look at, I'm not 100% sure about this, but Guy Ritchie directing the Aladdin remake. I'm pretty sure that was in order to make The Gentleman.
Right.
I'm not 100% certain, but
I think that's
you see those deals happen a lot. So yeah, like it does at the end of the day give, Guy Ritchie the chance to make an actually decent movie.
Yeah.
So
I like the Aladdin remake more than the Lion King remake.
I don't know which one I don't like more. I don't know.
Do you guys know the first sequel?
First sequel?
First sequel.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Please tell me it's the Great Train Robbery 2.
It's not. It's not.
I'm gonna guess it's around the same time period though.
1916.
1916. Okay.
I'll read off the paragraph here. Same article as before. Although it wasn't until the 1970s when sequels really took root in Hollywood, they've been around since the early 20th century. The very first movie sequel in Hollywood history is widely considered to be Thomas Dixon Jr.'s The Fall of a Nation, which is a controversial film that picked up where D.W. Griffith's even more controversial The Birth of a Nation left off.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah, now that you say that, that actually makes total sense. Just considering how big of a deal that movie was. As bad as it is.
Yeah.
So 1916, first sequel, Bolton.
That is interesting.
What about the first reboot?
Yeah, I know. It's first remake, cash grab. First sequel, racist. It's like, oh no.
Alright, what about the first reboot?
First reboot?
Reboots
Interesting.
are kind of similar to remakes in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're sort of
Similar but different.
Yeah.
First reboot of all time.
Reboot.
The first reboot is The Return of Godzilla.
Oh, with
Really?
the American?
I think
The American
1984
version?
one.
With Raymond Burr?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that's...
Is Raymond Burr? Which actor's that?
He was in the original American edit of Godzilla of like 1955. I don't know about the year. And he returned for the 1984 version of Godzilla,
Let me check that.
which was scary. It scared me as a kid.
Because then there was another American Godzilla.
Yes,
like
the Roland
99 or
Emmerich
something
one.
like that.
Yeah. Which is, I'm gonna say it now, controversial. It's fun.
I feel like I enjoyed
it's
it.
so dumb that it does. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't hate the movie. They use a giant pile of fish to try and lure Godzilla into a trap.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's Looney Tunes logic.
Yeah.
So the 1984 Return of Godzilla was Japanese. Was this the one?
Japanese? I want to say, yeah, so they did an American version, I believe. Similarly with, is Raymond Burr in it? He returned for an American one.
Oh, the film's supposed to sequel and a reboot.
Yeah, so Godzilla 1985, which is similarly a re-edited version of 84,
Gotcha.
where they did the same thing. They put Raymond Burr back in.
But remakes.
Remakes. I have another point to make, because I heard this about remakes.
Yeah.
That once you make a new one, people will forget about the older version. Excuse me. And actually, from my experience, there's a website called Letterboxd where you can see people log their movies. And I noticed when remakes come out, a lot of people start rewatching the original.
Okay.
And I think, if anything, it presents more interest in the original. Kind of, not to dig it up from obscurity, but people revisit it more often when new remakes come out.
Yeah. I have an argument against that.
Yes.
Do you think that's what a filmmaker would do? Or do you feel like that's what the general population would do? I feel like as filmmakers, we love looking at the old stuff and seeing where that came, where the original source material affected the new stuff. Do you feel like a filmmaker is more inclined to do that? Or do you feel like general population does the same thing? Do you think the general population also looks back farther?
It's very hard to say, honestly.
It's hard to say. I don't think
I feel
generally...
like the Letterboxd app, I feel like filmmaker is like a filmmaker's dream app, right?
Filmmakers and wannabe filmmakers.
Yeah.
It's a lot of diehard film people.
Yeah.
So that's a fair point. But I think just putting it in the zeitgeist, I think mainstream America is a lot more aware with the internet and stuff. And so Plane Trains Arms, my dad said there was another one.
Yeah.
Let's watch that. I think he has the VHS.
Oh.
Stuff.
True,
I think conversations like that happen a lot, and people are more aware, and so...
Well, that's another argument for remakes, is that it gives the newer generation that same thing.
And as well as that, I mean, if someone's remaking your property, it means there's attention on that property. So it does, in essence, it can't help the filmmakers of the original piece, you know? Because, it means that people like your work, people are interested in your work, so you're much more likely to get more work if someone buys your product and remakes it.
Exactly.
Some random writer with nothing to his name.
There is a remake that I prefer compared to the old one.
Okay, there's quite a few, I think.
That is The Mummy.
Okay.
Oh yeah, for
Great.
sure.
So,
Yeah.
because you got the older one, and then you've got the Brendan Fraser one, which is what I prefer.
Yeah.
And then you got the failure one.
Yeah, I was really scared that you were gonna
The newer Mummy, where it's I prefer a remake, but not the remake of a remake. And to be fair, I haven't seen the new Mummy. I've just heard horrible things.
It's bad. The best thing about it is the trailer with the messed up audio.
Yeah, I agree. It's an interesting... That movie is more interesting in the making of.
Yeah, very much so, yeah.
Yeah, I prefer Brendan Fraser. The newer Invisible Man. That's technically a remake. I've heard amazing things.
A good
about
example
it.
of a well-done adaptation.
That's good.
Yeah.
And it's not connected to the Dark Universe. They completely scrapped that.
It's not. And it's not.
You know, it's not in a major way. There might have been subtle things that we
Tom
didn't
Cruise
notice.
walked by in the background of one scene. So
He would have run, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. He would have run. That's true. Yeah. That's another example of like taking a story and completely flipping it and learning something new. Because that one's about like domestic abuse and stuff.
That's good. That is a good. I feel like a good remake then.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the original. It's just about a crazy guy.
Yeah.
Other remakes?
I'm representing Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Oh, okay.
And we're filming this on the brink of Labor Day. It's soon.
Mm-hmm.
And since 2007, Rob Zombie's Halloween has held the record for highest box office weekend on Labor Day weekend.
Wow.
And it's gone up against One Direction. And the One Direction documentary was released on Labor Day, and Rob Zombie still beat them.
Dang.
Yeah. And Crazy Rich Asians, it was released on Labor Day weekend, and it didn't gross more than Halloween. And so I think it's divisive, but I think Halloween is a successful remake that did enough different to warrant and justify its existence.
Okay. So, a sequel that reboots the series.
Yes.
So I'm worried about a C-boot then for Back to the Future, The Goonies, all those classic 80s movies that I love.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I feel about if they did more with it, right?
At the end of the day, you still have the original movie.
Yeah.
I get, it is a weird feeling.
It's
You have that strange attachment to the movie, especially if it's something you liked as a child. Like, yeah, it does feel like it's kind of yours, but
What if
it's good?
Yeah, what if it's good? I mean, I'm always willing to give something a chance.
Yeah.
What if they remade Gone with the Wind?
Yeah, I mean...
They've got a lot of problems.
I would prefer that because
has some problems.
I have no desire to ever watch Gone with the Wind again.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it just because I look at the runtime and I'm like, do I want to?
Yeah.
There's some impressive technical stuff, I'll say that.
Yeah.
It's kind of impressive. I want to go back to the Future because Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies.
Yes.
And I'm very attached to it. At the same time, I think you can do something interesting with, if they remade it now, you'd probably go back with all this 80s nostalgia. Go back in time to the 80s, and you can do something different with that. And I think it'd just be kind of interesting just to see who you'd recast in those characters.
Yeah.
I feel like Tom Holland would probably end up getting...
Yeah, I feel like Tom Holland's always the go-to for playing the Marty type of character.
Yeah.
For sure.
My pitch is Millie Bobby Brown. Her full name would be Martha, but they call her Marty because she's a tomboy.
I could see that. I could see that. A gender swap. For the main character. I'm down for that. I'm down for that.
Yeah, and then you'd probably have someone like Kristen Wiig as Doc Brown.
Ghostbusters 3.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters 3.
Yeah.
Isn't there a new Ghostbusters movie coming out?
There is.
And yeah.
Also,
I feel like I saw the trailer for that forever ago.
C-boot, isn't it?
Yes, it's a sequel.
It's the sequel to the original, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
When is that coming out? I feel like I saw a trailer for that so long ago.
It's supposed to come out this year.
Oh,
It's just in limbo right now.
Okay, gotcha.
And a lot of people I saw them being with the female Ghostbusters, the Paul Feig one. They've tarnished the name of Ghostbusters, and it's
I don't think they tarnished the name. You can't ruin something that's already...
Yeah.
I mean, the two first films are great. Nothing can take away from that.
I love Ghostbusters 2, but it's not a perfect sequel at all.
Oh, no.
Not at all. It's the opposite of what I do. There's so much in there that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I think with a bad reboot, you could maybe tarnish the franchise going forward. Because you could, kill interest in future ones.
Yeah.
But as to your point, it's not going to affect the previous one, Those are already there, and unless George Lucas has his way, they will always be there.
Right.
Oh, man, the Star Wars sequels. The ones that we got recently.
Yeah,
that's a whole other
Force
story.
Awakens is almost a reboot.
We got to turn that into another episode about the Star Wars
that could be
stuff.
That could be a whole fucking podcast in itself.
Yeah. Well, I would love to do an episode on someone. I like to talk to someone who liked Episode 9.
Okay.
Because I don't.
Yeah.
I don't either. And you're so forgiving.
Yeah, you're the nicest film reviewer I've ever met in my life, and
yeah, that was one of the few moments in the theater where I felt complete just betrayal and apathy, and it's like these characters are so emotionally attached. I was just in theater being like, I don't know these people.
Yeah, see, I think for me that's why reboots bug me less than like a bad sequel will. Because a reboot leaves the original alone. But like the new Star Wars movies have ruined the original characters. You know, I mean, I guess we could say spoilers for the new movies. They're all dead. You know, they killed them all, and I really dislike that. I don't think that was a really good choice. I suppose we can just reboot it in 20 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing is C-boots, they can retcon stuff that affect the original movie's narrative. Like, in the new Halloween movie, the David Gordon Green one, there are plans on killing Loomis at the end. Like, digitally, like, redoing the character just to show him being killed. Which, to me, I think completely takes away from the original story. So, yeah, stuff like that would bother me. So as long as you don't affect the original storyline permanently,
I feel you.
I'm fine.
All right. Well, how about some closing thoughts? Any closing thoughts about the whole remake thing? Anything about it?
Essentially, I think you should just treat them like any other type of movie. You know?
Fair chance.
Yeah, it's a style of filmmaking, I think you say. It's not necessarily a genre, but I'd say it's style.
Yeah.
And, you know, a style is not inherently good or bad. It's, you know, it comes down to the individual works of art that are, like, within that. And
Absolutely
I think,
fair.
You know, and I think there's a definite benefit to being able to re-examine art through remaking it.
True.
I agree. Yeah, to echo Andrew, you can see re-examine the original, we can re-examine the story through different types of storytelling. They tend to be good for the economy. They make money.
Yes.
So beyond filmmaking, you know, I'm sure that live action Lion King movie, live action is a visual animated movie, so much of it's animated to me, but that required so many man hours and was good for the economy. And
the artists did a good job.
Yes.
Can't take away from that.
They can't. And so,
detailed movie.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, it could be good storytelling, good for the economy. I'm for them.
Yeah. No, I agree with that completely. For me, there's a right way to do a remake and there's a wrong way to do a remake. And once you watch the movie, usually you can tell whether or not it was worth it or not. But that means you have to always give it a chance, and that's what I always do. So, yeah, remakes, guys. What do you guys think? Anything come to mind for you guys? Do you like remakes? Do you hate them? Reboots, same thing. Do you like reboots? Do you hate them? Sequels, same thing. Do you like sequels? Do you hate them? Thank you, Andrew, for joining us today.
This was a lot of fun.
It's been fun. It's been good. You might have noticed we have some improved lighting. I hope it shows. We'll find out when we edit it and upload it. But it felt fancy to me.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get some good sound coming in. Hopefully, because sound is like the next thing that we need.
Yeah.
But this was good.
I think every episode we need to up the production in some way.
Just a little bit.
To the point where it's an unnecessary thing. Like we
Episode 100 is going to be like...
episode 100 is going to be like green
Dolly
screen.
track.
Yeah, dolly track zoom-ins.
Yeah.
Lens flares.
Oh, the whole
Background
thing.
extras.
Background extras.
Yeah, absolutely. But we could use your guys' help though, for sure. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, do all that fun stuff. Share it with a friend.
Share with a friend, your grandma, whoever.
Yeah, this is definitely a filmmakers episode. If you've got a friend that's really into filmmaking or who just really enjoys movies, share this video. Maybe they'll get something out of it or want to add something to the conversation in the comment section. Go for it.
Exactly.
Please join us. It's a fun time, and definitely suggest any type of video ideas you guys got.
Oh yes, that'd be great. We're always welcome to topics.
Absolutely.
So we need to do like a big dramatic topics.
Yes, we need something very serious and controversial. I feel like it's something that we should do. It's just it's just finding which controversial topic is the right one to tackle.
Yeah,
for our channel.
I prefer lighthearted topics, but I want to get a serious one in just because it'll be fun just to
Absolutely,
see.
it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for watching. This has been Caught in the Middle.
Yes.
We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
See ya.